Bobby Charlton. Well done, Manchester United.
Beckham. It's a Sheringham. And Solskjaer has done it. Bobby Sarr saved it. United again. Renee! A magnificent goal by Robin van Persie.
Welcome to United Hour, your official Red Cafe podcast for all things United. I'm your host, Nick.
I'm Craig.
And I'm Ashwin.
Yeah, we've got our international lineup again today, from London to New York to Poland. In fact, where in Poland are you, Craig?
Northeast, so I'm in the coldest section in a place called Podlaskia.
All right, fair enough.
We've got lots of snow right now as well.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, we're recording on Saturday night after a 1-0 win against Burnley. Hard fought, but yeah, at least we got the 3 points. Actually, one of these strange days, Ashwin, you know that over here in the UK, we can't watch this game officially.
Why?
The 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff is not allowed to be shown in the UK. Whereas, you know, you sat over there in New York, have no problems watching it.
Yeah, that was
I guess
natural.
the same as, it was that like the main game of the day or something over there. And like I say, in Poland as well, it must be shown on live on whatever channel is over there.
Yeah, it's usually on one of the premium channels that you have to pay like a lot of money for each month.
Right. Yeah, so yeah, look, I have to say, I watched this on a legal stream. And in fact, I was probably watching the same show as you, I guess, Ashwin, because I'm watching USA NBC over here.
The NBCSN, yeah.
Yeah. That's my option to watch it. I mean, it is a bizarre situation, but yeah, that's the way all these TV deals go and all.
So none of the 3 o'clock games get shown?
Yeah, we don't watch 3 o'clock Saturday games here. And the theory behind it is, if they show Man United at 3 o'clock here, nobody's going to go and watch like Championship, Division 1, Division 2 games, like, you know, live in the stadium. They think it'll affect attendance figures. And, you know, most matches take place at 3 o'clock on Saturday. So that's why there's a whole blackout from any football being shown at that time on a Saturday in the UK.
That is so stupid.
Well, yeah, look, like I say, nowadays with streaming and things being shown all around the world, it's a bit bizarre. But anyway, you know, I managed to watch it. So, yeah, I'm not complaining that much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, we'd managed to eke out a win. We'd played Burnley just 3 weeks before. I was there at Old Trafford for that one, and it was quite a different day. We went 2-0 down, and Jesse Lingard saved us that day. And, yeah, another hard-fought match today. I mean, it was a lot more even than we would have wanted, really. I mean, possession was pretty even, shots were pretty even, but yeah, look, the important thing is we got that goal. I mean, what did you think? At half-time, it wasn't looking that great, a 0-0, but did you think we could get that win today, Ashwin?
Yeah, I actually thought once we got into the half that we hadn't conceded. I felt pretty good about our chances of winning. It seems that of late we've been somewhat lethargic in the first half of matches. It's almost like we come in, our plan isn't working. You know, at halftime it looks like we don't even have a plan, and at halftime we adjust in some way, be it substitutions or tactically, and then the performance in the second half was better. And I didn't think our second half performance was anything great, but it was much better. I thought we were able to get Martial isolated a bit more. I don't know if that was a focus of his halftime talk. It might have been, because he mentioned it actually in the post-match that he mentioned about how Martial is so deadly in one-on-ones with fullbacks, and he praised Lukaku for recognizing it and playing him in for the goal. But we did do a better job of playing through him and just transitioning quicker. But it was a match where we didn't really have control of the match at any point. So it was a really uncomfortable. I mean, I'm happy we got the 3 points, but I felt that we looked a lot better actually when Fellaini came on, before we just did the classic, you know, stand right outside our 18 and invite the pressure. But when we were still kind of looking to attack and play forward, I thought we looked a lot better with 3 in the middle. And I'm not of the opinion that 4-3-3 is 100% all the time the solution, but I do think that there are clearly opponents that tactically are able to set up in a way that exploits us when we play a midfield 2 with Pogba and Matic. So it's up to Jose to kind of pick and choose his spots better, I guess.
Yeah, we did actually have a bit of a discussion about this on the last podcast about 2 in midfield, 3 in midfield, Pogba's best position. And, we'd said after that kind of dour Christmas period that the big change was that Pogba had said he'd been given a bit of a freer role, a bit more freedom to attack, and it made a big difference in a win against Everton. And we'd kind of kept quite a similar lineup. We had a bit of consistency in the last few matches. Everton, Stoke, and then today with that kind of, Matic, then Pogba, Lingard, Mata, Martial, Lukaku. It's the first time in a while that I think we've gone like about 3 games with a similar-ish kind of lineup, a couple of changes here and there. Today, Young came in for sure, but apart from that, it was the same lineup as we played against Stoke on Monday. And I think it's good to see a bit of consistency coming in there and helps players get a bit of rhythm, bit of understanding. But yeah, there still is this question mark over Pogba's best position. I thought our midfield was a bit poor in general today, and that's why we didn't really get hold of this game. Pogba had a lot of the ball first half, didn't really do so well with it, whereas on Monday night against Stoke, he had a pretty damn good game. And even Matic was a few times I saw him getting run past and giving the ball away a bit more than usual. But yeah, maybe we should give a bit of credit to Burnley, who put in a damn good performance and really pushed us all the way. Craig, what did you feel? Did you always feel we were coming out 1-0, or were you a bit squeaky bum time at the end there?
Before the game, I was a bit too confident. I thought we'd win 4-0,
right?
Which was probably insanely optimistic considering we did draw 2-2 with them a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Maybe I was I don't know, maybe I was feeling happy because of Sanchez and all that, and it affected my judgment. But during the first half, I didn't see that we would win 1-0. I thought we'd probably keep and hold on for a draw, or they would nick one, because they did look like they would nick one at some point, to be honest. I was really disappointed with the match. I was even bored with the match as well because of how sloppy our play was.
But bored, it was a pretty open game, I thought. I didn't think you could really be bored by this game. Not great, maybe, performance by us, but yeah, for a neutral, it was a surprisingly open game. I think a lot of people might have expected Burnley to do a lot of defending and try and, hit us on the break. But in fact, possession was almost like 50-50 in this match, which is pretty surprising going to play a team like Burnley. But yeah, like I say, we've got to give them a lot of credit because, they were very well organised at the back and seem to have a good understanding in all their players when they try and push forward on the break. Sean Dyche, like I say, he's been getting a lot of praise and maybe, does deserve to get a higher chance in football somewhere. But, they are just lacking somebody up front to give them that finish there. And in fact, their best striker, Chris Woods, is actually injured. So, maybe we're lucky in that at the moment.
Well, I don't know. Ashley Barnes today looked like, the second coming. He just dominated Smalling on every aerial duel. I don't know if Smalling's injured or not because I've never seen him. His timing on every aerial challenge was so off. And then, he was his timing was off. It looked like he couldn't really overpower Barnes at all. Unlike Barnes, he's a strong, very English center forward. I understand, he's going to win his fair share. But, we've seen Smalling before have the best of, individual matchups like that. And today he definitely was not in his best form. And, it's always irritating at times when we're in possession and it gets to Smalling. And because it comes to Smalling, it eventually ends up in us just hoofing the ball out, 70 yards or whatever. But the one thing you kind of always depend on with him is that he is individually a very strong defender, both in one-on-one situations on the ground and just in aerial duels. And today he just, I don't know, he did not look right. Maybe it was an injury. Maybe he just had a bad day. I don't know what it was, but I think I even messaged you at halftime in response to the podcast.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah, you
like,
did,
yeah,
yeah.
Smalling was awful in that first half. I thought, yeah, I mean, it continued in the second half. Actually, I mean, I don't remember if they had any time where they, kicked the ball up to Barnes, and it seemed like specifically he ended up on Smalling more than Jones, though he did get the better of Jones on a couple of occasions too. But yeah, it just felt like every time they did, Barnes was able to hold it up and bring runners in, and they were able to transition forward easily. So yeah, and in general, I've just felt that maybe not that specifically, but I felt that a lot of times one of our biggest weaknesses over the last month or two has been just allowing teams to transition easily from defense to attack, and it feels like they're just able to find open runners or cut through the midfield very easily. Um, Maybe it's a numbers thing, maybe it's tactical, maybe maybe it is that we need to put in a third man in the midfield. Whatever it is, I'm not sure. But after the Stoke, Everton derby matches, yeah, today just felt like very much a step back in terms of the performance, if not the result, in that sense.
I think basically, Burnley are just so well drilled at playing this way. And like you say, they have the big man up front. They've actually got about 3 identikit strikers, and any one of them gets a chance.
Yeah.
Barnes, Vokes, and like I say, the best one of the 3 is actually Chris Woods, who's been injured for a bit. So, yeah, we're lucky he wasn't playing today. And, yeah, they're just exactly drilled at that. Big man who can take the ball down, play others in, hold the ball up. It's something we've actually talked about that our big man up front lacks. Lukaku, I expected would be a lot better at that type of play, but he's actually not so great at holding the ball up and bringing others in. Whereas he is actually a lot better at running in behind. And yeah, like today, he's had a great assist, Lukaku.
Yeah.
And even, I remember talking over the Christmas period where people were starting to get at him not having scored and things like that. But there was, I think it was Leicester where Lukaku played 3 brilliant balls that should have been goals that day and could have had 2 or 3 assists, but everybody, messed up their chances. So yeah, he actually needs to improve massively, like these players like Barnes and Burnley type players do when they're playing alone up front. But like I say, he's actually a lot better on the ground and is kind of playing in people like Martial today. Can't complain at all. That's what's made the difference and got us the 3 points really.
It's like when he gets the ball. Once he gets the ball under, it's difficult for him at times to get the ball under control. But once he does get the ball under control, what he can do with it is actually a lot more than I anticipated. Like you just said, in terms of playing players in, and just especially on the counter, man, he is like his ability to find passes on the counter is I did not expect it from him at all, to be honest. I thought he was going to be kind of always the one trying to get in behind on the counter, but he almost seems to prefer being the creator in a lot of those situations, to a fault. Even him and Martial have this, it's like a weird deficiency where they both, like, you want them to shoot sometimes, and it seems like the situation is meant for them to shoot, but then they try to play some cute ball over the top or find a pass to somebody running in behind, and it doesn't come off. But I guess in some ways it's a better problem to have than just having 2 guys that are trying to shoot every time they get the ball too.
Yeah, sometimes you would want Lukaku to be a bit more like greedy, and like I say, you look at how these one man up fronts play for Burnley and all, and yeah, Lukaku I think does need to improve that side, but we can't complain at all. Now he's playing he's getting very little service today again. He didn't really have barely any chances himself, but I wouldn't really blame him for that because the amount of times he had any good balls, I'm hardly talking 2 or 3 times in the whole match. And I could see late on his body language. He was getting a little bit annoyed at players not playing him in when they had chance. Pogba had a couple of times when he had to make a pass and was way too greedy and messed it up, which is massively annoying. There was 2 or 3 times he kind of went that way, and it almost seems that he's really trying to force a goal at the moment. A bit too much when he'd be better off racking up more and more assists. I think I'd seen the stat this week that Pogba's got more assists per game than anyone in the whole of Europe at the moment.
Top 5 leagues, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Top 5 leagues. And look, that's obviously the really top end of his game, and he should focus on that. I mean, I would like him to see him score more goals. I'd say it is a deficiency in his game, and it's really the thing that holds him back from moving on to being one of the really best players in the world. I think if he can improve his striking and his strike rate, then you are talking about somebody who can in 2-3 years' time be like a serious contender for a Ballon d'Or or something. But today was a bit of a frustrating day for Pogba, unfortunately, and you could see it as well. He was getting a bit annoyed. I think he got a yellow card somewhere and needed to calm down a little bit, really. I don't know what was said too much at half time. Like I say, first half, we were not that happy. We didn't even have a shot on target in that first half.
Yeah.
We had some decent little bits of play here and there, but not even one shot on target. Whereas, Burnley had a couple of half chances, nothing that much. But yeah, like you say, second half at least, we did push on and there was some decent moves. But yeah, it's a great finish from Martial, and he's done 2 or 3 now in the last few weeks. He's really come into a bit of a run of form. And earlier in the season, it was Rashford playing every game, and Martial was coming in off the bench, and they've had a complete role reversal. But you've got to say he deserves his place, right, Craig?
Definitely. It's like 3-3 now, and if he keeps scoring, then there's nothing keeping him out the side. Like we have to keep him in there as long as he does. And they're not like horrible goals either. They're always like good-looking goals. Like
that was a great finish.
Oh yeah, today was amazing.
Good ball from Lukaku, but still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like it was a great finish. Like he's scoring the kind of goals that, like, when you want to do a highlight reel of a player and you want to pick his best goals, you're like picking almost every goal right now. And we all love a crossbar finish, because it always evokes memory of Tony Yeboah. So every time I see someone shoot that hits crossbar and hits the floor, I just want to jump up and scream Yeboah. Because it's one of the few goals that has stuck in my mind for all these years. So it's always great. And Martial, he did work to get into that space as well. And it's brilliant. Like he's got good play. Like he's good at finding the space. And he didn't take too much time on the ball either, which is one of Rashford's problems. And sometimes Lukaku's problems as well is where they take too much time to shoot. They think too much. And even Lingard in the match as well, he had the ball and he could have shot, but he seemed to think too much about where to hit it. And then the defender actually got in the way. Whereas Martial, he seems to know roughly when to do it properly now. And it's great because it's good to see him coming along, because obviously when we bought him, it was a lot of money for someone so young and someone so unproven, to say. So to see him coming along now is brilliant, and I would like to see him in the team every week.
Yeah, he had that brilliant first season under Van Gaal, and then kind of struggled last year to adapt to kind of Mourinho's ways, really. And there was a couple of times that Jose called him out, actually, and said that he's not quite understanding what I want from him yet. And there was a lot of people who thought he was going to leave in the summer, and even earlier in the season he was not playing. He was mostly just be using a substitute. Even though he was racking up pretty decent goals and assists from the bench, he was still mostly a sub, and still people were saying, oh, he's going to leave. But yeah, he's played his way into the team. I think Jose actually deserves a lot of credit for his man management on this one.
He won't get it though.
He's in top form now. What do you say?
I said he won't get the credit though.
He's not Pep Guardiola, so he won't get it.
Yeah,
like Pep will get credit for every young player that comes good for him. Conte will get credit. Mourinho won't get any credit for Martial coming along. You won't get credit for Lingard. You won't get credit for Rashford.
I say I've been pretty critical of Mourinho for a lot of things, and we got a couple of messages of complaint from our last podcast, actually, of being too critical about things and getting at Mourinho. And maybe we did give him a bit of stick for the Christmas period, and we were a bit frustrated on things. But I will say that he deserves credit for definitely certain players, and like Martial, the way he's come on. Shaw, who's come back into the team, didn't play today, but he'd played about 5 in a row before this. And again, a player that a lot of people just assumed his United career was over, and that he would have left last summer or he was going to leave in this window. But yeah, now he's back in the team. He'd been playing well. I think it was a good idea to rest him today, and Ashley Young actually had a good game. And then again, Lingard. So yeah, for these kind of players, you have to say that Mourinho needs to take a lot of credit. Players who are now playing damn well every week, young players as well, players that you would have thought as maybe were squad players and you weren't too sure what their future were in the summer. So yeah, credit to him for that. And it is interesting, this kind of first 11 that's slowly developed all of a sudden. I mean, at the start of this season, our team actually looked very different. Mata was nowhere near the team. I actually remember there was some games earlier in the year where he didn't even make the bench.
Yeah.
And now he's been kind of a first 11 player for a few weeks. And I am happy to see that because, I've always really liked him as a player and as a person. But there was a few moments today where you could see he's a little bit past his best and he's a yard slower. He was never the fastest player anyway, but he's definitely getting the wrong side of the age kind of peaks and troughs nowadays. And you can see he's lost a yard of pace. And there were situations where he was just not getting to the ball. And I think, we're going to have a bit of discussion soon about Sanchez, which has obviously been the big news. But we'll just wait till we finish our Burnley chat and about who we might replace and all. But I've been happy to see Matt get this run of games. But you'd think he's a player that probably is going to become more of a squad player going forward. But what have you thought of this team in general, Ashwin? Like you say, it's the first time we've had a bit of a settled team for a while, with Martial left, kind of Mata is kind of right, Lingard, Pogba are in free-ish kind of attacking midfieldish roles. Matic is the only one who has to sit, and obviously Lukaku's up front. Do you think this is our best system? It might still be changes of personnel here and there, but how do you feel about that?
I like this system more against. So when I saw the lineup today, it was less about. I think if we play the 4-2-3-1, I think both of our fullbacks need to be good on the overlap. And I think it needs to be for both phases, not just... So, the thing with overlapping fullbacks is not only do they add width in attack, and it allows Martial to play closer to Lukaku, but, it actually makes it a lot harder for teams to transition into attack when they do regain possession, because their winger is forced to track back onto our fullback also. So they're just pinned deeper. So that's when I saw the lineup today, that was my only real issue with it. And I thought, Shaw had kind of earned the right to start again. Though I don't know if this was like him saying Young is his starting left back as much as he just wanted to give him a run out there and give Shaw a rest. So I'm not too concerned about that. But I'm fine with this system. I think it's fine. I do think that Mata slows us down at times, and in matches against lesser opposition, especially at home, I don't think that's that much of a problem because we have the possession. So having Mata, who's like a little skillful player, he finds little pockets of space and creates overloads. That helps a lot. But today, I thought was a really good example of a match where there were a few times where he got the ball in situations where, he could drive at defenders or play forward passes on a counter, and instead he slowed things down or played a little sideways pass, and it just slowed down the entire move. And you could kind of see where if you put Sanchez in for him, how much more dynamic we would look. So I think it's less about the system, more the personnel. And that's not, and I want to make it clear, I actually think Mata will benefit from this because he was like you said, he was out of the side a bit for a while. He was out of form. He just kind of didn't have anything. But the last month or so, I think he's actually looked really good. I think he's been central to some of our better periods of attacking play. even if he's not getting the goal or getting the assist himself. I think he's just played a lot better and been more involved. But he doesn't look like a guy to me that has the legs anymore to start and play 75, 80 minutes plus every match. So I think he'll benefit a lot from being a squad player. And I think I read a report last week where they hadn't agreed on terms or anything, but he wants to stay at United, and he does. You read his beautiful little blog posts, and yeah, he seems very happy to be here. So I hope we keep him. I think he'll be a very nice kind of rotation option, both on the right wing and behind the striker for us if we play this system. As far as what our best system is, I'm not sure. I think a 3-5, like we played against Arsenal in a 3-5-2, and I know that match was weird for a lot of reasons, but at least on the counter, I really think that suits us a lot. I think it like Lukaku and Martial have a really good connection, in my opinion. They seem to really enjoy playing together, and they play well off of each other. And then I like having Lingard in behind them. I think he's better when he plays through the middle. It gives Valencia and hopefully Shaw moving forward a lot of space to run into on the flanks, and I think they have the speed, and Valencia certainly does. I'm not sure if Shaw is quite there yet, but the fitness to just run the flank for 90 minutes. I think that system would really suit their skill sets, and it gives Pogba. We know Pogba is good in that system, right? He played for Juventus in that system, and in that Arsenal match, that was one of his. That's probably the best performance he's put in a quote unquote big match since he's been back at United. So I think it's pretty clear that system suits him as well. And then I think 4-3-3 in certain. So I don't know if we necessarily have a best system, but I think we have with Sanchez especially. I think now we have a lot of options regardless of which system we pick, and that's only a good thing, because I don't know how many teams 100% nowadays have a specific system that they stick to regardless of who the opponent is. And if anything, that's something that we have seen and criticized Wenger for, right? Is being so set in what his team and what his system is and how they play, and that being easy for disciplined opposition to pick apart. So I'm not sure if we need to have this is 100% how we line up when we're at full strength, but Mourinho as a pragmatist probably doesn't think of it that way. I think he wants to be adaptable and likes having the ability to play different ways and different systems.
Jose, you must be pleased with the performance and the result today.
I am. It's a different kind of performance that you try to have, but it's a performance needed to get a result against a brave team like Burnley. We know the way they play. They are better than anyone playing that way, and you need to adapt. You need to adapt to it to be successful. We adapted well by the defensive point of view. We should score a second goal and kill it, but we didn't. And then we put ourselves in a position where we really have to fight until the last second. The best image of it is Pope in the box for the last couple of crosses, and that is the image of how competitive the game was.
I guess I don't know if we're talking about Sanchez. We're not talking about Sanchez. So
well, I think we will actually. I think we can't really hold it back any longer. I think it's like I say, it's not 100% done yet. I mean, like I say, we're recording this on the Saturday night after Burnley, but I think we're 99% there. And I think the thing that's happened today, I think Craig, you were just saying, right, that Mkhitaryan has actually been pictured in London.
Yeah.
So I think that was the thing that was kind of holding it up a bit, was just Mkhitaryan deciding what he wanted to do. But yeah, it looks like this is going to happen anytime soon. So I think we can basically talk about this as if it's a done deal. We'll look pretty stupid if it doesn't happen now, but anyway. So look, yeah, we had a question in from Twitter, and I think that's probably a good one to kick off this discussion. So yeah, Craig, it was from Vikash Patel. what position or role do you think Alexis will occupy, and which player is the one to miss out? So what do you reckon?
Pretty much who we've been talking about is Mata. He'll play on the right where Mata is. Or he'll switch with Lingard sometimes, maybe, with Lingard on the right. But I think he'll stay more on the right. But he'll cut in a lot, like Martial does. Because I think it's probably where he's best, to be honest. And we don't want to take Martial or Rashford away from the left at the moment. Maybe he'll switch him around occasionally, like he was doing with Martial and Rashford before, and he'll chuck Sanchez on the left, Martial or Rashford on the right. But I think he will stick to the right mainly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has played a few different positions for Arsenal from what I've seen over the couple of years. He has played even the main striker for them on occasions. But then, other times he does play more attacking midfield, even from the left or from the right. So he is quite a versatile attacking player. I don't know how often we might ever see him actually playing centre forward. But yeah, it's possible. Sometimes I think if Zlatan's out, I didn't agree with him, but Mourinho recently was saying that he had to play Lukaku because he didn't think he had any other striker options, which to me was a bit weird because I think Rashford is begging to be playing up front on now and again at least. But anyway, obviously Mourinho doesn't see it that way. But yeah, there's got to be some times where Lukaku gets a rest because, yeah, he's playing way too much football in my opinion. But I think that's the good thing about Sanchez is that he's a flexible player who's pretty comfortable playing all around kind of forward attacking positions. And yeah, look, he's a damn good player and somebody we should be excited to be signing. I think maybe not last year or the year before. I think he was a pretty good shout for probably the best player in the Premier League. And yeah, over the last few years, this year he's not been so great, but I think his whole transfer and contract situation has obviously been playing on him. And it's been pretty clear he's been trying to think of where exactly he's going. And it looked like it was going to be City or whatever. So, yeah, for us to come in and nick this one, I think, yeah, is a pretty damn good coup for us. And, yeah, like I said, I've not seen it totally confirmed, but it looks like it's a straight swap for Mkhitaryan. Whereas when it first was mentioned, people were saying we were going to be paying quite a chunk of money as well. So yeah, if we've managed to pull that off as a straight swap, I think we've done a pretty damn good deal there, right, Ashwin?
Yeah, that's fantastic business because I don't know exactly what happened to Mkhitaryan, but as much as there are a lot of people that want to blame Mourinho because I don't know, it's not Mourinho's fault that he couldn't control the ball or couldn't make simple passes or couldn't shoot when he was put it through on goal. Like at some point, there's only so many things you can blame the manager for. Like I don't care if Moyes was the manager and he was playing like that. At some point, a lot of that has to be on the player. So good luck to him at Arsenal, but not so good luck, I guess, where hopefully he plays well against everybody but United or something. But yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that that's. If you ask every manager in the league if they would make that, I think every manager would make that deal, make that swap. So, yeah, that's a great move for us. And just with regards to his position, he'll probably come in for Mata, but, we've seen with Mata even, he has kind of a free role. He roams all the time. So, regardless of what his starting position is, in some ways I think it'll benefit him because a lot of times, we've seen it. We've talked about it a lot. Mata gets the ball, and he has chances to either be it on the flank or run through the middle. He has chances to drive forward, and he just can't do it anymore. And he's also just become a very risk-averse passer. There was actually one I wanted to mention this, but there was one opportunity today where we had a chance to counter. He received the ball somewhere on close to the halfway line, and he's a left footer, and he's facing across the field. He can see Young. Young is in acres of space. He could just run into if he plays the ball, and he instead played like a backwards pass to Smalling, and then we ended up, because it's Smalling, just hoofing it out like 60 yards and conceding possession, running back towards our 18-yard box again. So, yeah, there are just a lot of instances where I think this semblance of where we seem to lack control of matches for long periods. I think Sanchez will help us just because he is. I mean, he loses the ball a lot. Like he does lose the ball a lot, to be fair, when he dribbles, but he drives forward, and I do think that the system will suit us. Or rather, our system will suit him, I should say. So, really good business, I think, and other than his £700,000 a week wages, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, there is some crazy numbers being thrown around at the moment, and yeah, it's a bit bizarre because you used to get these players who are coming to the end of this contract, and you think, oh, we're going to get a bargain deal where we get them on the cheap, and there's Arsenal actually always seem to be the club that I don't get why they get in this situation again and again where big players end up coming into the last years of their contracts. It's been, for years that they've constantly let players go. Fabregas, Van Persie obviously famously came to us.
Yeah. He was the last year of his contract too, right? Van Persie when he got yeah.
Arsenal again and again keep doing this. I don't know why. Like, for me, if I'm in charge of a football club, if a big player gets to 2 years left on a contract and he's not re-signing, then I say, get the fuck out, right? We're cashing in on you. You don't want to re-sign. You don't want to commit to the club. Then, leave. We're cashing on you, get a premium price. But I don't know. Wenger constantly seems to hold hold of these players. I was actually discussing this with an Arsenal mate of mine. And my personal opinion on it is that I think that Wenger thinks every year that he's going to win something big and that he's going to then convince that player to stay. And every year he wins fuck all. So it doesn't happen, yeah?
So it's almost like every year is their year.
Yeah, he always thinks they're going to do something that year, and then the player will then be convinced to re-sign with us because we're building something. But yeah, it's been Groundhog Day for those Arsenal fans for years and years now that it's really come to nothing. And I mean, when my mate first heard this kind of thing, whenever it was 10 days ago, that it would be Mkhitaryan for Sanchez, he was like, no fucking way. I don't want Mkhitaryan. He's been shit. Then now that he hears it's happening, he's like, well, I think there's still a player in there somewhere, and maybe Wenger can get the best out of him. And to be fair, I actually think that maybe Mkhitaryan will be more suited to Arsenal's style of play than our style of play. He never really seemed to fit in to what Mourinho wanted. And I have always wondered whether Mkhitaryan was a transfer that had already been set up by kind of the Van Gaal era, rather than somebody that maybe Jose picked himself. But I mean,
might have just been or it could have just been Woodward.
Yeah, I think it was something that probably had been worked on already when Jose came in, and like I said, a player already identified. And yeah, to be fair, he was like player of the year coming in from the Bundesliga. He had amazing stats. So yeah, if Mourinho came in and Woodward said, listen, we've been working for 6 months to get this guy in, do you want him or not? I'm sure he would have said, yeah, let's get him in. But yeah, I'm not sure if he was a player that was actually picked himself by Mourinho. But yeah, look, I'm just talking.
I have some stats on Sanchez, right wing, left wing. So on the right wing, these are career numbers. So for his career, he's played 119 matches in the right wing starting position, 47 goals, 39 assists. Left wing, 104 matches, 43 goals, only 23 assists. Center forward, 42 matches, 30 goals, 13 assists. Attacking midfield, 18 matches, 10 goals, 5 assists. So at least if you compare right wing, left wing, he's a better goal scorer in the left wing, but his overall play seems to be... I think there's sometimes putting a player like him on the left wing, it's so tempting for him to come in and just shoot, right? Like, that's the temptation when you put... I remember when we used to play Nani on the left wing, and he always looked better to me on the right because he was less inclined to come in and just shoot. Like, he actually had to go outside and play balls into the box. But, when we played him on the left, he'd always cut in and shoot. And I never thought it got the best out of him. It, almost played into his worst tendencies as a player. And maybe for Sanchez, it's the same thing where even if he prefers playing on the left and he feels more comfortable on the left, he's actually... It reduces his bad tendencies maybe to play on the right because when he's cutting into the middle, he's cutting in on his weaker foot, right? So you're less inclined to just have a shot from 20 yards out than you might be if you're cutting in on your right foot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't say like I haven't seen him play on the right. He hasn't played too much on the right wing in the Premier League from what I remember. So I can't say that I have some great knowledge of this. That's just a theory. But at least the numbers give you some hope that there is, more than just some fantasy reason that he could play on the right.
Yeah, it is interesting because I've always had in my mind that he's more a player who's played for Arsenal from the left or more central. So yeah, it's interesting to hear that he's actually had more numbers playing from the right. And yeah, it should be where he fits in for us, hopefully. And the big bonus as well for us is that he's not cup tied in the Champions League. Because Arsenal haven't played in that this year. So, yeah, he can play for us in that. And it's rare to bring in a player at this time of the season who's a top player who can still come and play for you in the Champions League. So, yeah, it's a massive bonus, him coming in there.
I can't even remember that happening before. Not that I've been so knowledgeable of transfers further than maybe 10 years, but I mean, even when Torres got transferred, Liverpool was in the Champions League that year, right? So he couldn't play for Chelsea, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at us ourselves, then, I mean, there weren't big transfers at the time. But yeah, coming in January, the only players who went on to be big players for us, it was that one year we bought in Vidic and Evra in the January window. To be fair, they didn't both hit the ground running because they weren't Premier League players. Whereas, yeah, Sanchez is obviously ready and Premier League experienced. So, yeah, should be, ready to go straight into the team, more or less. But yeah, like I say, that is the big bonus that you can play for us all the way through that. And the money numbers are thrown here, there and everywhere. I think personally a lot of it is bullshit and nobody really knows, but that's the way it goes now. I think, you save money on transfer fee, but you basically end up paying it all out in wages and agents' fees and all that. And in the end, I think the club don't really save anything. And the only people who lose out are Arsenal, and we don't give a shit about that. So yeah, tough shit, Arsenal.
It's crazy, how badly they've mismanaged that squad over the last 3 or 4 years. I don't even know how he didn't sell Sanchez and I'm happy he didn't sell Sanchez last summer. Thank you for that. But I don't even know what I would think if he did that at United and he was still the manager. It'd be really hard for me to not fly into a rage every time I watched him. I would probably be one of those guys on Arsenal Fan TV.
Yeah.
Claude is only 22.
Yeah, well, anyway.
I don't know. It's wild.
They actually had a video on Arsenal Fan TV today where Ty, I think, is the main guy in there. But he was asking one of the people about the Sanchez transfer, and he said, "Yeah, it's all about the money in it." And the Arsenal fan was like, "Well, no, it's Manchester United. They're the biggest team in Europe, the biggest team in England. So it's not about the money at all. It's about them." And he kept trying to interrupt him to say it's about the money, but this guy wouldn't have it.
The narrative about that has been so bizarre. The thing is too, it can be about the money. It's never about just one factor, right? It's never just going to be just the money or just if Real Madrid came in for him and they were offering him £50,000 a week, he's not going to go to Madrid, right? It has to be a combination of things. So yeah, I'm sure that the fact United is willing to pay him handsomely helps, but it being Manchester United, and I think this is another thing where Mourinho won't get credit. There's no way I think that United pull off a transfer like this with, I don't know, there are very few managers I think that could kind of win a perceived transfer battle with Pep in a situation like this, like Mourinho has. I think that regardless of how we feel sometimes about some of our somewhat static and robotic attacking play and how defensive we are in big matches, Mourinho has a track record that is very, it stacks up against anybody as a manager. And players will always recognize that, regardless of how maybe the outside perception is. I think that his perception within the game is still very strong. And it should be, because he is, everywhere he's gone, he's won trophies, and he's won the biggest trophies, essentially. So, yeah, that's another thing for him, and I'm happy that me personally, I'm more than happy that he's our manager and seems set to be our manager for hopefully a while yet.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, actually. Now the papers are saying that there's also Jose contract extension in the offing. Earlier in the season, there was all this stuff about, he's not happy, he's going to leave, he wants to go to Paris Saint-Germain, and he was making quite a few snipes about, money and how much money we were spending. And I think these two things are totally connected, actually, because the club is obviously going to make a massive outlay now to bring in Sanchez. I'm pretty sure they've then said to Mourinho, listen, if you want us to back you, then you need to commit longer to the club. Because if you want us to, pay all this money out for what your vision is, then, we need to have a longer contract. Because, his contract was actually going to be up next year, 2019. So I think it's all been connected, this stuff. He'd been sending messages out basically saying, I want more transfer funds. I think the club has said, look, we'll give you what you want. But, commit to the club. And, it sounds like he's going to be signing a contract extension. And even though, I've been very critical of him, it was not my first choice or whatever, I do recognise that he's pushing us forward as a club and that we're a lot better off with him than we were before that. So, I'm happy to see him stay and hopefully stay longer. I think we need that continuity and have somebody who stays and put something in place that, even if it's not for 10 years or whatever, that, we can build on going forward. I hope he does get his contract extension as well. And then, we go from there. I haven't seen anything about how long his contract extension might be.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too long. I don't want it, because look, contracts only mean so much, especially for managers. So I don't think that the club shouldn't put themselves in a situation where they give him like some 5-year extension or something. But if you can extend him through, I don't know, 2021 or something like that, I think that's probably a fair middle ground, considering he already had a contract through 2019. So giving him 2 years on top of what he already had with the pay raise seems like a pretty fair solution for everybody involved, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, just to talk about a couple of the other bits of news and all since we last recorded. There were 2 other games. I won't go into in great detail. Stoke and Derby. I don't know if you 2 guys had anything in particular you wanted to pick out in these games, but Derby, we had a bit of a shuffled pack for the FA Cup match, and managed to come through that and move on there. Some of the fringe players had a game. I think that was actually Mkhitaryan's last appearance for us.
And he got pulled at halftime.
Got pulled off at half time. So I think that was a good message to him that it's time to move on.
Terrible final game for him, to be honest.
I wouldn't even say he was horrific, but I think that really says everything about his season this year. And so good probably time for him to have a fresh start.
There were a couple of times in that match I think he was in like a good crossing position and he just put it 60 yards over. Like nobody had a chance. That I think the second time he did it, you could hear the whole stadium audibly kind of groan, and just it was I don't know if it was just it seemed like if there was ever kind of a time to just realize that your time was up, that was maybe a good time, because I don't know if he had I don't think he did have the mental strength to just kind of turn things around and get back in Mourinho's favor. And I think that's something that a lot of, like Mata, for example, he deserves a lot of credit for that, because when Mourinho got hired, the assumption was Mata's gone, and he's not been the greatest player or anything, but I think that he's earned his place in the squad. I have no issue with him being in the squad. Whereas with Mkhitaryan, it was like, he was gifted a starting 11 spot, and then by the end of it, you didn't even want him on the bench.
Yeah, totally. But we were pushed pretty far in that Derby game. I think it wasn't until the 84th minute that we actually scored. It did look like we were going to have to go to replay, which would have been the worst possible scenario. I got quite a bit of stick on the last pod here for saying I wasn't really bothered that much about this cup and wanted to see us play quite a lot of fringe players and give people rest. But yeah, at the same time, look, I'm happy for us to go through. And I'm especially happy that we get an away draw because, yeah, as a season ticket holder, I have to pay extra money whenever we get home draws for matches that I can't necessarily make or attend anyway, especially when they throw them on Friday bloody nights. But anyway, thankfully we got an away draw, Yeovil Town, who are actually the lowest ranked team who are still left in the competition, way down near the bottom of Division
League Two.
League Two at the moment, which is actually the old Division 4.
They're 21st.
Yeah, I saw they actually lost today.
Yeah. Only 2 points from relegation. Yeah.
And this is a home draw?
No, we're playing at Yeovil.
Oh, okay.
Which our away following will be ecstatic about because they love going to these small clubs where you can stand and things like that you can't do in the Premier League anymore. So yeah, it'll be a hot ticket for people who want to go to that one out at Yeovil. Have you ever heard of Yeovil before, Ashwin?
I think I've seen it, like when I look at the scores for the FA Cup and I just see all these names. I'm pretty sure I've seen the name Yeovil Town, but is it just a really small town?
Yeah, it's out in Somerset. It's actually not too far from Wales, is it, Craig?
I don't even know where Yeovil is, to be honest. That's how little I know about Yeovil.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right. Yeah, look, Yeovil, small-time club. I actually had a little quick look at their history myself to remind myself. And in fact, they weren't even a professional club till about 10, 15 years ago. They were just ploughing down in the non-leagues. They actually had quite a meteoric rise coming from non-league. They got a couple of promotions and ended up in the Championship about 5 years ago, which is just, one below the Premier League.
Right.
But then they've gone back down again 2 leagues and are now sat in what is the 4th tier at the moment and are looking like they might go back down into non-leagues again to the semi-pro leagues. But anyway, like I say, for them, it's probably the biggest match in their whole history or something like that, I'm guessing. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be up for it. But yeah, I'll be happy to see quite a shuffled pack. It is Friday night again, which is always a weird, still getting used to these Friday night games.
Oh, that's great.
It's Thursday.
Thursday?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Let's look.
Oh.
No, yes, it is Friday.
Yeah, no, it's Friday.
I thought
Gives me an excuse to leave work early and have some beers.
Why did I think it was Thursday?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Thursday night football started yet. That's your Europa League shit. Yeah. Thankfully, we don't have to.
True.
Thankfully, we don't have to play in that this year. No. Friday night it is, and yeah, I'm hoping we rest a lot of players and give all our fringe players. There's players that you kind of forgot existed, like I don't know, Darmian or something like that. Probably need a run out by now. Yeah, don't know.
Sanchez for a debut.
Yeah. Why not give him a run out? Get used to the shirt. See who else needs a few minutes. Herrera, McTominay, maybe these kind of players. Yeah, saw in fact Lindelof today wasn't even in the match day squad. Maybe these kind of players can have a game that day. I think Rashford needs a game where he needs a couple of goals. He's really desperate to play himself back into a run of form. I think he'll start this match and hopefully get himself on the score sheet. I think he just needs to get a goal and then he'll settle himself a bit. I'm not worried about Rashford. He's still a young player. He's just going through one of those patches. And I'm still fully sure that he's going to be a damn good player for us. And he's just going through one of those patches.
He had a run like this last year, too. I remember in the middle of the season where he just couldn't score and he looked out of sorts. So, and then, by the end of the season, I think he looked a lot better, kind of came out of it. So I'm not too worried about it. I agree with you. I think if he just, I remember I was reading his performance thread, and there were a lot of people complaining about how he was playing selfishly and just shooting a lot from anywhere. And I agree with that. He is just taking a lot of dumb shots, but I think it's because he hasn't scored and he's so desperate to score that he's not letting the game come to him. He's almost like forcing. Yeah, he's forcing a lot of things. And then today he actually he did the opposite. He hesitated a couple of times when he had one chance where he was actually in, and I think Martial played him in, and then he just kind of dawdled on the ball and allowed the Burnley defender to track back and nick it off of him. But I'm not too worried about him. I think if he hopefully I think this would be a perfect match for Sanchez to make his debut and for Rashford to start up top.
Yeah, totally. So the few other bits of news around, just looking a bit at the transfer window as well. I do always like to give a little nod to the young players, and saw that Wilson has gone out on loan to Sheffield United. He actually played today, started a game for the first time and scored. So good luck to him over there.
He'll be playing with my cousin.
Really?
Yeah, my cousin plays for Sheffield United.
All right. So who's your cousin?
He's a central defender, Kieran Freeman.
Fair enough. Okay, so you can go and get us some proper scouting first-hand reports on him, right?
No, he's like one of those cousins that you don't really know properly.
Okay, all right.
But I know he's my cousin because my uncle has been there a lot.
Fair enough.
He's my only claim to fame.
And this podcast.
All right, well, this will be your chance to get in touch with him and say, listen, we do a podcast and I've mentioned you on it. So, get us some match reports about how Wilson's getting on there. And I don't know. Wilson was a player who came through. I remember it was actually towards the end of the Moyes era. I think Giggs gave him his debut in...
He scored 2 goals, right?
Yeah, I was at that game. And it was like a kind of dead rubber matches at the end of that Moyes year, and Giggs threw in a few young players. And he scored 2 goals in his home debut. And then Van Gaal actually gave him quite a lot of matches at the start of his reign. And then he kind of went off the radar a bit. I think he then got a really bad injury and was a bit of a write-off for a year. I'd be surprised if he ever becomes a United player, but I hope he manages to play himself back, and I'm sure he can get a good career somewhere. The only other player, again, you're looking back at Van Gaal times, but Cameron Borthwick-Jackson had a great breakout year, I remember, under Van Gaal, and then just totally went off the radar. Has had a couple of really failed loans where he's not had any matches at all. I think last year he was out of Wolves, barely got a game because one manager brought him in, got sacked, and the next manager didn't fancy him. This year he's been out of Leeds and not had that much game time. And I just read today that the club have cancelled that loan and he's back at the club now. So I don't know what's going to happen to him, and it's a shame because I think he looked like a really exciting player. Played quite a few games for us at left back those years. So I hope he manages to get a chance somewhere again. Then the other player who's been in the news is Michael Carrick, where it's pretty much confirmed that he's going to be retiring at the end of this year and joining our coaching staff. I think that'll be a great move, bringing in his kind of experience in there. He'd been that mainstay. He's still that kind of one of those main links back to that Fergie area and all the success we had at that time. So keeping these players around the team is definitely going to be a solid thing to go for. And then the other ex-player to mention, Ryan Giggs, confirmed in his first managerial job. This will obviously be of interest to you, right? Proud Welshman, Craig. So what did you think of that then?
I have mixed feelings, to be honest, because obviously I'm a Welshman, but I'm also a Man United supporter. And so for me, he's a United legend. Wales legend, not so much. He played a lot for us, but not enough. And he did miss 9 years of friendlies, which as a Man U fan, I understand, because you don't want your players playing in friendlies that get them injured. So as a Man U fan, I'm excited to see him get a chance at a managerial position, and no matter what team it's with. But then as a Wales fan, I'm like, could we not have had someone else?
But who do you think? Well, do you not think it's a good appointment for Wales?
Wasn't it between him and Bellamy?
Yeah, exactly. If it's between him and Bellamy, surely you're fucking celebrating that you get Ryan Giggs. What do you think? You're going to get bloody Bellamy in charge of your national team? I couldn't think of anything worse, literally.
Yeah, I know. He was the best of a bad bunch. But I would have liked someone, a Welsh manager who'd actually done something with teams, like maybe Tony Pulis or something.
He's the only other real kind of Welsh name around, isn't he? And I think
pretty much,
he'd only just
him and Chris Coleman, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I do.
I am surprised actually that Pulis. You would have thought it might have been the right time for him to go for this kind of job, but at the same time, I'm glad that Giggs finally is getting a job in there somewhere. Maybe I don't know. It is a bit strange to go straight into international football as opposed to starting at a club somewhere. But I think Mark Hughes started in the same way, didn't he? Wasn't that his first managerial job?
I'm not sure.
Then he did pretty well for Wales and then moved on from there, if I remember.
Isn't Hughes Welsh?
Yeah, he is Welsh.
Yeah, so he could have gotten the job. That would have been another candidate.
No, he was Wales manager.
he was at some
That's
point.
where.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Wales. I'm pretty sure that was his first managerial job, and he went on from there wherever, Blackburn, City, and then all right, he was sacked recently, but he's had a pretty decent managerial career. So yeah, it's not a standard thing to start in international football, but like I say, for Wales, there is that kind of Mark Hughes blueprint from before, having done that there. So yeah, look, let's see what Giggs does. And I know as well, there's been this kind of video came out this week of Giggs's pre-match talk, and people have been going on about how uninspiring it was, but personally, I think that's a load of bollocks. Like,
It wasn't a proper pre-match talk, or was it? It was in the hotel.
Well, it was like something in the hotel, like before even travelling to the stadium, and it was like some it was one of these dead rubber matches after Moyes had gone. Nobody really gave a shit. I'm like, what do you think? You're going to roll out your Winston Churchill best fucking inspiring speech to play Southampton when like the season's already over? So yeah, people always read into these things too much, I think, and wish Ryan Giggs the best there. Let's see what he can do for Wales.
And hopefully for me, he will do well. I need us to qualify for something again.
Yeah, surely something from Fergie has to have rubbed off there, and maybe he's learned from Moyes how you don't do things. And even though Van Gaal was not the best time for us, I'm sure there was plenty he could have learnt at that time, and that was the time he was proper assistant manager for those couple of years. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see which direction he goes. And yeah, there would be nothing I'd like more for him to do a damn good job, and for us to get an ex-United player back into the club in future years as manager. So yeah, let's see what he can do there. Yeah. So, all right, looking forward after that Yeovil game, then we've got a pretty big matchup coming in. There's a full midweek fixture list. So, yeah, we're going to Wembley to play Tottenham. Craig, did you manage to have a look at any stats or anything for our Tottenham matchups recently?
Yeah, last 5 games, we've won 3 and lost 2. But the funny thing is, the 3 we won were at home, the 2 we lost were away.
Okay.
So hopefully we buck that trend, because I don't want to see us losing to Spurs, to be honest.
They've been in good form.
Spurs aren't really playing at home this year, are they? Because they're playing their home matches at Wembley, and we've got a pretty decent record there recent times. So yeah, hopefully that plays in our favour.
Yeah, we just need Lingard to play.
Yeah, Lingard loves Wembley, and there will be a lot of United fans in the home end for this, because they've been playing in Wembley, and there's been a lot of Tottenham fans who maybe aren't going there, and the stadium is bigger. There's been a lot of tickets available for home fans to get, and I know quite a lot of United fans who've got hold of tickets in that Tottenham end.
Are you going?
I'm actually not going to this one. I'm actually going to be out of the country for some work stuff. Even though it's not too far for me, but yeah, I'm not going to be around for this one. But yeah, it's the next big game. We obviously beat them 1-0 at home. It was I guess it was kind of similar to today in a way, a hard fought 1-0 with not that many chances, but it was the first match in ages that Mourinho had won against the big teams. But yeah, Spurs have been in good form, absolutely hammered Everton last week. Son playing well, Kane banging in the goals, Eriksen on form. So yeah, really that's one that we need to be getting up for. I don't know, how do you think we can get a result there? Or are you going to be happy with a draw, Ashwin?
I think that I kind of think we'll get the result. I don't know. There's something about this is the first match first quote unquote again big match that he's going to have Pogba for since Arsenal, and really this entire year he didn't play against Liverpool or against Tottenham the first time either,
or against City,
yeah. So or Chelsea, so he hasn't or just Arsenal away has been the first one, and I'm 100% sure that Mourinho is going to set up to play on the counter, because that's how he plays in away matches from home, big matches. But especially with Sanchez coming in now, hopefully he can hit the ground running. I like our dynamism on the counter a lot more now than I did even before. And look, like Spurs, the way they play, they're not like some slow possession team, but they are a little bit more deliberate in how they approach. So we will have chances. Like they get their fullbacks forward too, right? Aurier and who plays? Is it Trippier that plays on the left? Whoever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's Trippier.
Yeah.
So they get forward. They provide the width. So if we set up properly, I think that we're gonna have chances in the counter, and that'll suit us. I think very nicely with Pogba playing in the middle. So I think we'll get the result, but maybe I'm just too excited or something. But I if we get a draw, I think I would be fine with that, to be completely honest.
I'd probably be pretty happy with a draw out of this game. Yeah, like I say, away to Spurs, they're in pretty decent form. As long as we don't lose it, we'll go from there. It will be a good one for Sanchez to come into, obviously. Arsenal, the whole Arsenal Spurs thing. I'm sure he'd get a pretty good reception if he played that game.
Scores the winner in the 90th minute, runs all the way down the pitch, slides on his knees in front of the Tottenham fans. Be beautiful.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the Adebayo celebration. I think every player should do it, like every single time.
It's funny because that was like a really big controversy. I remember when he did that, and I don't know. It's always a little bit different because when guys do stuff like that in American sports, if you do that in like basketball, no one cares. No one's gonna do anything. It's not like a big deal. So it's always interesting how that works over there. It's like always a little bit more of a controversy, and you have the crowd control guys and stuff too. So.
Yeah, it gets a little bit more vociferous between opposition fans over here sometimes. Do I remember right, Craig, you saying that your old man was a Tottenham fan?
He was, yeah. He loved Spurs.
So, yeah, he never convinced you to go in that direction?
No, I mean, he never really tried to get me into football, which is what I'm trying to do with my son. So he didn't really try and get me into Spurs at all. It wasn't really until I went to school that I started getting into football because all the other boys were into it. And, you want to fit in because I was always changing schools, so I had to fit in with the boys. So I had to like football. And that's when I started getting into it. And Man U were the team that everyone there supported. So that's who I supported. So we've had a good lot of fun over the years, to be honest. Although, sadly, he did pass away a few years ago before Tottenham started really getting into their stride and actually putting pressure on. He would have loved to have seen it, to be honest, because I don't think he really saw anything decent with them.
Did he ever get to see Tottenham in the Champions League?
I don't think he did. No, I can't remember when they were in it, like when they actually got into it.
It was under Harry Redknapp, I think, when they first made it.
2009, I think, right?
Oh no, yeah, he would have seen that, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So he probably did just see those first couple of years, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sure he would have been happy with that at least. Yeah. In fact, I think I've mentioned before on here that my brother is a Tottenham fan. My family's quite split randomly between everybody. There was a random uncle of ours who always tried to convince people to support Tottenham. So even though both me and my brother are born and brought up in Manchester, he still managed to support Tottenham Hotspur somehow.
God, that's such a bad choice.
Well, it's weird because, United fans always get stick for not coming from Manchester, whereas I actually am. Like, they are actually my nearest professional football team to where I've kind of been brought up.
Yeah.
Whereas my brother, who could have legitimately supported Manchester United without decided to support Tottenham Hotspur. And he actually does go to quite a lot of the matches. Whenever they're playing anywhere up north, he'll go to the away games, and he actually goes to London a fair bit for the matches.
Yeah.
So, but like I say, it's a bit of a weird one in our family. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game for sure. I'll be pretty happy with a draw, to be honest. If we can nick a win, I'll be ecstatic.
It depends on how we play for me. If we play shit like we did at Liverpool, then I will hate the draw. But if we play well and it looks like we're trying, then a draw will be okay for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. That was the worst thing of that Anfield game. It just felt like we didn't even really have a go.
Yeah.
And even against City as well, you thought we could have had a bit of a better go. We saw last week how Liverpool tried to attack and ended up winning the game, and it kind of felt like that City team, if we'd really had pushed them and had a go at it, that, there was goals to be got against them, and it was just a shame that we didn't really go for it. But, that's a whole other story. And There has been a bit of talk this week as well about whether we're closing the gap because they lost that game finally, but I still think I'm not even thinking about that. I think our odds to win the league crashed from 120 to 1 to something like 50 to 1 or something, as if there's still a chance.
Those 3 draws in Christmas really killed us now, because we would be 6 points behind.
Yeah, those were the real killer.
Yeah.
Those 3 draws, and look, like I say, I'm not even thinking about that, and just happy that we're like solidifying that second place. Really, that's the main thing at the moment. Just keeping solid over there, and then just getting ready for February. I think after that Tottenham game, it's then Huddersfield on the weekend, and then only a couple of matches till the Champions League all starts again.
Yeah.
So a few matches to get into rhythm, and then back into the Champions League. And like I say, that Sanchez signing really gives me a bit of a feel that we can have a damn good go at this Champions League. I already felt that Mourinho is a manager who's got a good record in this Champions League. He's won it with teams like Porto, Inter Milan, who had, I'd say, even though we're nowhere near the favourites this year, I'd say they had less chance really than we should to be going for a cup like this year.
He usually just gets it. Like his teams have generally just gotten far. I think even with Chelsea, his first 2 years, I think they got to the semis both years. And then with Madrid, he got to the semis all 3 years. And then obviously at Inter, he won. At Chelsea, before that, I don't actually remember how he did in his first stint, but I would imagine he did pretty well in the Champions League then too. And then he won at Porto. So like you said, he's just done well in this tournament for whatever. I think like the tactical nature of it kind of suits him as a manager. So hopefully
he is a really good cup manager. And I've kind of given him a bit of stick for saying that he plays 2 stronger teams in cups like the League Cup and the FA Cup, whereas I always want to rest players to focus on the league and keep players fresh for the Europe and stuff like that. But Mourinho loves winning trophies. He loves these cups. So that's why, he constantly puts out strong teams, because he is a winner and he wants to win as much silverware as possible. And like you say, he is a damn good manager for these knockout tournaments. I'd actually be very happy. It's a weird one, because I'd be really happy and think it was a success if we got to the semi-finals. Whereas if we only got to the quarterfinals, I'd almost be a bit disappointed. But there's only 1 round of difference there. And if we got further than the semis, then for me, that's like a really good season. Whatever happens after that, if we could get to even a final, never mind winning it, I'd be ecstatic, basically. But only a few weeks till all the Champions League kicks off again. We're, after that difficult kind of Christmas period, we've at least had a decent run now. 3 wins on the bounce, no goals conceded. That's 3 clean sheets in a row, which is really good to see. Let's hope we push that forward from here.
De Gea had nothing to do today, to be honest. For the most part, he didn't really. They put in some threatening crosses, but they didn't actually do much. Yeah,
it's true. In fact, both sides there wasn't really a lot of chances. There was decent play and players around the box and slightly dangerous situations, but in terms of keepers actually making saves, there wasn't that much at all really. It was one of those strange matchups like that. But look, thankfully we roll on from the win there. I think we've just about covered all the talking points of the past couple of weeks. We all look forward to Sanchez arriving now. The one thing I did just want to mention as well is that today is the anniversary of the passing of Sir Matt Busby. So just remember that great man in the history of the club. If there's any of our younger fans or overseas fans who don't know who Sir Matt Busby is, then I think you need to get on Wikipedia or whatever right now and make sure you educate yourself on one of the greatest men in our history, really. And like I say, there's only 2 managers at Old Trafford who's got statues there, and that's Sir Matt Busby and Alex Ferguson. And I still remember early years when Fergie was there, and cameras always pan out to Ferguson in the stands at matches nowadays. And it was the same in Fergie's early days. Matt Busby still always used to be sat in the stands at the matches as that kind of father figure overseeing what was happening at the club, still years after he was manager. And he bought that first European trophy to us back in 1968. So yeah, like I say, any young fans and overseas fans there, make sure you get yourself educated about Sir Matt Busby there. Yeah, I think we've covered anything, right, guys? Don't think there's that much more to add. I'm not sure when we'll be back. Maybe after Tottenham, if we can get a crew together, or yeah, the week after Huddersfield or something like that. Yeah, let's roll on from there. I think that's about it. Good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good evening from me.